Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to Ed Randall's Talking Rams. Here on this video series, we are paying tribute to those men and women, members of the Athletic Hall of Fame, who distinguished themselves on the field of play and brought honor to Fordham University. We hope that you'll pass the word about this series to all your friends in the Fordham community and have them tune in. We continue our series of conversations with a 2015 inductee into our Hall of Fame who captained the men's basketball team for 2 years and finished his career ranked 6th on the all-time scoring list. Currently, he runs a basketball training company back home in Michigan. We welcome back to Fordham one of the elite players in school history whose plaque you can see in the Rose Hill Gym. We welcome back Marcus Stout, CBA class of 2008. Great to have you. Great to see you. You grew up in Southfield. Talk about those years prior to coming to Fordham, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, no, growing up in the Metro Detroit area, a lot of my family is from the inner city in Detroit. So I grew up right outside of Detroit in Southfield, and that was during the bad boy era and rough and tough basketball. So it was fun just, being in Detroit during that time as a young kid and playing sports, obviously basketball and a few other things. But that was just a great time in my life to grow up in that environment. We had a ton of kids in our neighborhoods and competitive, so it was amazing.
And the Bad Boys, that was like a mix of basketball and football, wasn't it?
No, for sure. No, we didn't call too many fouls outside when we played. So you had to play through some things back then for sure. That's what we seen and stuff.
Was it always basketball? Was that always number one, or did you play other sports?
I played other sports. I played baseball, played football, and basketball. But my love for basketball kind of always trumped every other sport that I played. So I tried skating. My dad had me in tennis a little bit, so he threw me in a little bit of everything sports-wise. But basketball is always number one for me.
Talk about your high school team and high school basketball and what kind of style of basketball they played.
Yeah, so my high school team was amazing. I went to Detroit Renaissance High School. We were a powerhouse at the time. Two of my guys in my class got drafted into the NBA, and we had on my senior year we had 5 guys play Division I basketball, 2 guys played Division I football. So we had a pretty good thing going during that time. And the style that we played was all defensive minded. Defense first. You win with defense, very disciplined on offense, but we also play with a little flair. That's kind of the Detroit way, where it scores, but we play with some flair and have some fun. So but our staple was always discipline and defense. That's how we won games. My senior year, we went undefeated. Was number 2 in the country. So we had a really good time during high school.
And now it's senior year, and you're excelling on this tremendously talented high school basketball team, but no offers for college, right?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. Going into my senior year, I didn't have any offers, and I had a few schools that were lower level that I felt I was better than, and it was interesting because I went into the season. I turned down those 2 schools that I had and went into the season with no offers, just kind of willing to bet on myself. It worked out well with Fordham coming along. I only had 2 offers, which was Fordham and Wright State, a few other interests. But, that was just, when I look back on it, just making that decision with me and my dad and my family of going into the season, knowing I have nothing with kind of 1 year to make everything happen. It was interesting, but I used that as fuel to prove a lot of people wrong when I stepped on campus at Fordham. So, it was a blessing in disguise for me.
You really had a point to prove your senior year, but my goodness, I mean, that was really betting on yourself was really a risk.
No, for sure. I knew that going into it. One thing I did know, because we had such a good team, is that we had a chance to be on a national scale, win some championships, play in front of coaches due to, the talent in the gym that we had. So a lot of the coaches in the gym, we had 30 coaches in our gym, and nobody was offering me. It was kind of mind-boggling. I thought I was playing pretty well. I don't know what I was doing wrong or whatever, but it only takes one, and I had the right one, that believed in my talents and seen what I could offer to a school and a program.
What was your first contact with Fordham, Marcus?
Yep. So my first contact was with a guy named Ross Burns, and he was at Youngstown State the previous year, and he was recruiting my teammate who had committed to Youngstown State. And then the next year he got a job at Fordham. I had developed a small relationship with him. And once he got that job, he reached back out to me, told me he was interested in recruiting me. And that was kind of my point of contact with the start with Fordham.
So the fact that you had that personal relationship with him was one of the reasons why Fordham won your talent over Wright State.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely an important part. The kind of person that Ross is and was at the time, and just the belief that he had in my game when not a lot of people did. Even when he wasn't recruiting me, he still developed a relationship with me, even without, recruiting my teammates. So I just kind of kept that in mind, during the process, and that played a big part.
But you believed that you had Division I talent.
Oh no, definitely. I knew I was a Division I player. Like that's one thing I never doubted, was that I was a Division I basketball player. I had a smaller role on my high school team. So that kind of, we had a winning program, and I learned a lot from that, having a smaller role. I had more talent than I felt the role allowed me to show. But just being a part of that and going into it and betting on myself, like I said, it was blessing in disguise for me. It made me get some thick skin and some belief in myself,
I bet, and it worked out so well. Talk, if you will, about your first contact with the Fordham coaching staff, and if any promises were made from them to you.
Yeah. So first point of contact, Coach Wittenberg at the time, who was the head coach, he actually came out to an open gym and watched me play. He was like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in what I see. Didn't offer me though. And flew from New York to Detroit. So I was like, okay, I wanted Fordham at the time, more than Fordham wanted me. And so left without an offer. He did a visit, didn't get an offer. So I was like, all right, he told me he'd be back though during the season. Came back during the year. And then when he came back during the year, I had one of my best games of the season. It was a really big game. I played really well. And right after the game, he was like, look, offers on the table. That was this is in December. I remember the day. I'll never forget it. It was in December. And that was an amazing day for me.
So you sealed the deal with Derek Wittenberg and you're coming to Fordham. Had you ever been to New York before?
Yes, I've been to New York twice. It was interesting because we took a family vacation to New York when I was younger. And then my dad, we took a few family vacations. So we had like one family vacation left when I was in high school. And he kind of left it up to me over my sister at the time. And he was like, where do you want to go? I chose New York again. So he did New York twice. And for some reason, New York just always had an energy that kind of drew me in, and I just wanted to be there. So when Fordham came along, it was kind of like surreal to be back in there for my visit. I stayed downtown in Manhattan. It was amazing. Just I was like, I can actually like be here for 4 years, which was an amazing opportunity for me.
What highlights from those trips that you took to New York have stayed with you?
Visiting the NBA store. We ran into Tisha Penachera. I watched a lot of WNBA back in the day. She was a point guard. Ran into her. Ran into an NBA ref. We did the bus tour around Manhattan. Just being in the city, we walked around a lot, got some good food, seen some plays. We seen a Lion King together. So just walking around and just the energy, the hustle and bustle of the city, being from Detroit or from Southfield and the suburbs, I wasn't used to that. So it kind of just drew me in,
Talk about the first day on campus at the Rose Hill campus. It blows people away that there's a place like this in the Bronx. We'll talk about your first day on campus.
Yep. So first day when I came to summer session, my dad actually came with me and stayed with me we came early before the session started, and he stayed with me to get me set up, for about 2 or 3 days. And it was cool then. It was cool. The day that he left, I had never been on my own before. And I'll never forget it. I felt homesick from day 1 to about day 7. I remember I called my dad and I said, I can't do this. I was like, I gotta come home. I did not like, I was like, I love the situation, but I had never been away from home.
Right.
And so for me, it was a major adjustment, just being off on my own, having to depend on myself, everything, not having my parents there. But I had a good playing sports. I had a good support system with the coaches. But I just remember feeling really homesick. And my roommate at the time, Mike Benz, he had been at prep school, so he was just moving, doing what he does. And I'm like, man, I'm just trying to like find my rhythm here, So I was a fish out of water for sure.
So when did it change after the 7th day that you started to feel comfortable?
Really started to feel comfortable when we started getting in the gym consistently. I think that kind of gave me my rhythm. Got to know my teammates a little better, especially the guys that were coming into my class. And, that we had that mutual, just like, that mutual energy of we in the gym. So if all else fails, I started, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to spend my time there, start venturing out on Fordham Road a little bit, which was interesting. I lost some money my first time on Fordham Road. I might tell that story.
Tell us. What happened?
So I'm with my teammate Mike. And Mike, we walking up Fordham Road, it's a whole new kid from the suburbs. So been in the city a little bit now, I can know how to handle myself, so I see the 3-car Molly. So I see the guys playing, but they got the red ball in the cups. So they like doing the cups. So I stand there, I'm watching this a crowd. So this is new to me. So I'm like, yeah, I like this. Like, all right, so I'm watching it. And we had just got our per diem. So I was feeling good, so I was feeling good. I got a little money in my pocket. So I'm watching for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and I'm getting it right. So I'm like, you know what, man, forget it. I'm like, let me hop in here, man. I got like a couple dollars to I'm not a gambling man.
I got
like
my meal money. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few dollars to play with. So, I'm like, all right, throw my 20 down, gone just like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm a competitor. So I'm like, okay, you got me, cool. I got about 60 to play with. That 60 was gone in about 15 seconds. And them same guys, when I come to Fordham and I walk up Fordham Road, I swear I see these guys every single time. I just want to talk to them like, man, when I first, y'all got me, never again though. So, but I was a new kid on the block in that space for sure.
Yeah, but you didn't make that mistake twice.
Oh
boy, they were looking for you though. So where did you first live on campus?
So first summer dorms were in, I want to say Alumni North. They were the freshman dorms. I think it's called Alumni North, if I'm not remember. I know it was South and North, but had the little stoop outside. That was the summer dorm at the time, my freshman year. And but during the school year, we stayed in Walsh all 4 years at the time. That's where they put the basketball team at.
And talk about going into the business school and choosing a major.
Yep. So when I first got there, I started off in Fordham College. And, at the time, we had to take a language. I kind of regret this a little, not regret it, but just looking back on it,
they don't allow you to take English. That's a problem.
Exactly. I wish it was English. I might have stayed, but I wasn't like a computer. Like I didn't think at the time like a literature arts kind of person, language and stuff. I felt I wanted to go into business. That's something I kind of felt would interest me at the time. So my first year I was in Fordham College, and then my second year I switched to business. Just because, like I said, I knew that was something. Obviously being in New York. My parents stressed school, the financial district and everything. And in New York, I just thought that was a good way to go for me. I also confided in a lot of my older teammates, Jermaine Anderson, Corey McCray, just to name a few. And they kind of guided me and just gave me some advice. They kind of had went business, and I was like, that makes sense for me too. So that's why I chose business.
Did you have a favorite subject?
Ooh, favorite subject. I won't say a favorite subject. I had a professor made it my favorite subject, and this college is like it's like the professor can, I ain't gonna say make or break the class, but a professor can really make learning fun, and I remember I had Professor Tamelli, which was in stats 1 or 2, I can't remember, but I think it was stats 2. But I just remember just his delivery, the way I was always a math person too, so I love numbers. But just the way that the class was and how it was, it was. I just remember having fun, like learning new things in that stats class. So that's the one class for me that really stood out.
And I'm glad you led into that, Marcus, because I was going to ask you about a professor who inspired you and made a lasting impression, and this was the guy.
Oh yeah, Professor Tamelli's the man. Like when I was introduced to him when I went to College of Business, he was a big supporter of the basketball team. Always showed us love. When I first got there, we weren't very good the year before, and we started getting a little bit better as the time went on. But even when it wasn't that many people showing up and different things, he was always there supporting us, letting us know he was at the game, sat in the same spot up in the corner. Always told us, man, y'all gonna be good. And then he also was a really good soccer player. So that I ended up got to know him a lot better. I used that as my off-season conditioning. We used to have like open run soccer games on the football field. They would shorten the football field, but I used to kind of use one day a week of that for some conditioning. So he introduced me to another sport too that kind of really helped my conditioning, my footwork, and helped me with what I was doing too. So he had a really lasting impression on me for sure.
That's great. Did you have a least favorite subject?
Least favorite subject. I'll say, so when I first went there, I'll give you a quick story. When I first got into Fordham College, my first day, they didn't really ask us before we met with Frank and Eric. They didn't really ask us what we wanted to do. We kind of just got our schedule at first and just went to the classes. So when I first got there, I was in French 3 because I took French in high school, but I didn't really leave out of there knowing French to the level that I should have. So when I went to French 3, I was like in the class and I'm completely lost. Like they are just talking French at like a high level, expecting me to know certain stuff. And I'm just looking, I would love to see my face. If I could see a video, I would pay to see that video right now. But I remember being like, nah, I cannot do this. This is not for me. So I think that kind of discouraged me. So now I don't think I had a least favorite subject because I tried to, immerse myself in each one. But for me, that was just a moment where I was like, I got a lot to learn. I got to lock in on school,
Well, if you don't mind, we're going to continue the remainder of this interview in English. Is that okay with you?
Please do. Right. That would make it a lot better for me.
And for me, because I don't know a word of French. Tell me about a favorite building that you enjoyed being in or looking at on campus.
Favorite building? That's a good question. So I would say just thinking quickly through it, my favorite building, I'll probably say is the chapel. And I'll say that because we used to have services on Sundays in the chapel, and just spending time in there. That's not really somewhere when you go to college, every school isn't like a Jesuit school that doesn't have the accessibility to that. And I'm a person of faith, so that was important to me. And so just spending time in that building, in that space of my life, being young and trying to find myself, it was an important part of my life. Continuing that, being able to have that at my access, on campus. So I would say that's probably my favorite. Well, I won't say favorite, but one that stands out because it's such a beautiful building, and it has different rooms, and we used to hold things in the basement and different things. So I'll say that for sure.
Favorite hangout over the years? Did you have a favorite hangout?
Yeah. I gotta shout out Pugsley's. I mean, we did the Howl at the Moon. We had that time, we had fun there. We did some Arthur Ave, restaurants and things of that nature when we had the money at the time. But just being in the Bronx, I remember when I first went there, and me and my roommate, Mike was my roommate my freshman year, we ordered Pugsley's at least 5 times out of the week. at least for like the first like 3 months, So we was trying to put on weight too, so it was cool at the time, But I gotta say Puzzlies because they took a lot of my money, so I gotta I gotta say Puzzlies.
But they took it honestly, unlike those guys on Fordham Road.
For sure.
You have an opinion about the food in the cafeteria?
Yeah, the food when I was there, it wasn't I won't say it was bad, but it wasn't great at the same time. Not knowing at that time, with diet and being an athlete, you kind of, a few things, but I was just trying to put on weight for myself at the time. So it wasn't really like a big deal, like what I was eating, but also what I was putting in my body, just not being educated on it. It wasn't like a ton of options, to say, healthy, or I need this or I need that. So I think it served its purpose. I know when I was there, they started adding a few of the different stores where you could go around. So I started mixing up my meal plan with the flex dollars and the cash swipes instead of just being all cash. So that was a little bit better for me. That I was able to kind of have a few more options. Just if I was trying to be healthy, be an athlete, be disciplined. But like I said, it was pretty. I would say I'd give it an average grade, just in my opinion.
Did you work at all while you were at Fordham? Did you have any jobs?
I did not. I always wanted to just going into college, I knew having an internship was, something that you would do in the summer. But I was always just so focused on basketball. Like I just grew up being, my priding myself on my work ethic, and I was locked into it. So I didn't, but what I did do when I was in school, is I did, and I got to shout out Julio too. He's retired now, but when I was playing professionally, I had an injury and I was trying to figure out, my next step and spend some time there because I really hadn't done it. And I did an internship in the summer in the marketing department, in the sports marketing department for a full summer. And this is the second year after I graduated. Yeah.
That's wonderful, and wonderful of him to direct you, Julio Diaz, in that direction. So you get to Fordham and you make a big impression right away because you were Atlantic 10 all freshman team nominee, and you hit the ground running.
Yeah, definitely. I actually came in, like I said, I had that chip on my shoulder because in high school we did a lot of winning. Like I said, we went undefeated, but I left there knowing that me personally, I could have done a lot more. I feel like I not left a lot of opportunity, but I could have just done a lot more. So it was very important for me to stepping into a new space to make my mark early, to let them know what I was about as a player, and to not have that same feeling when my college career was over. So I actually started off like really, really, really slow when I first started. I remember our first exhibition game. I fouled out in like 10 minutes. The game was moving so fast. I fouled out, I didn't even score. I didn't hit a three for it's funny, ironic. I need a few of those threes back. I finished number 2 all time, but I didn't hit a three for the first maybe in the game, 5 to 6 games. I just couldn't buy a three. I couldn't find the rhythm. I was hitting them in practice, but it was one game that I hit about 3 or 4 threes, and that's what got me rolling. But once I got rolling, middle of the year, I starting. I wasn't starting the first half of the year when conference started. My first game started with St. Joe's at the time, which was #1 team in the conference. And I kind of just rode that wave. And I was prepared also, coming from good programs in high school and AAU, to do the small things as a freshman, defensively, being in the right spot, just being a disciplined player as a young guy is important, on the court with older guys. So just having those intangibles, that thought process, that preparation, the work ethic, and then the mentality to make my mark kind of allowed me to have a good freshman year.
And you came from a high school program which you said stress defense. Now you come to Fordham, and they're stressing defense.
Yep. That was our calling card. It was actually a coach there. I don't know his name. I was just up there recently, but we had a game against Fairfield that year, who was a pretty good team at home. And I remember vividly, we held them scoreless for 6 to 8 minutes, because Coach Wittenberg will always reference that, in terms of the potential that we had as a defensive team. So my freshman year, that's when we did. And then my junior year, we were the #1 defensive team in the A-10. I remember that year. So defense was something that we really stressed, and that played into who I was as a player as well.
So you come off this high school team where a couple of guys engender interest from the NBA. It's a great winning program. What was it like for you when Fordham was not winning in the manner in which you had become accustomed in high school? What was that like for you?
It really wasn't an adjustment. When I first went there, like I said, my dad always told me, any situation I step into, just leave it better than you found it. And that's something that always stuck with me. So the year before I came, if I'm not mistaken, I think they won maybe anywhere from 3 to 6 games throughout the year. So coming into it, I knew #1 is opportunity to play, but #2, I know who I am as a leader, as a player, and I'm a winner. I pride myself on playing winning basketball, making winning plays, having winning habits. So going through it, I think my mind was so focused on continuing just to do that's all I really knew. I've always been in winning programs. I never really known what it was to I've lost games and, been on teams that were average, but just in general, my habits and my thought process was always as a winner. So nothing really felt different. And part of it was we were always getting better too. Our record was improving, even though we weren't winning at the level I would have liked us to. I could see the improvement. And, that when you see the improvement, you're winning close games and teams you're not supposed to beat, that kind of keeps you motivated in terms of you doing some proper things in order to get to where you want to go.
And it improves every single year that you're there. You get to a junior year, the team goes 18-12, top 4 finish in the Atlantic 10, but shockingly, no postseason.
Yeah, I remember we thought we had a chance. I remember after we lost in the quarterfinals that year to Rhode Island in Atlantic City. And I remember vividly every year before that, spring break is right around that time. So we already knew we was going home pretty much every other year. But that year, I remember it was pretty cool because we thought we had a chance to make the NIT at least. Fordham hadn't been in a postseason tournament in a while, hadn't had a winning regular season. It was the first time they had 10 wins in the Atlantic 10. So that was kind of a letdown knowing that we were that close. And you didn't get a postseason build. It was also motivation going into the next year, like, hey man, it's our last year and we can build on this and take that next step, 20 wins postseason. So
was junior year your favorite year of the 4?
Definitely. Junior year was my favorite year. We did our most winning. We had some games that it was a lot of excitement around the program. We had some games for first place, in the conference. Junior year was definitely the pinnacle of my time at Fordham in terms of just overall just fun and winning and the student body and everything of that nature.